Hi, we're Kevin Chris Waterhouse.
And we are Travelling Australia.
We're so glad you can join us on our adventures. Living the dream. We're heading east along the Nullarbor. We're just heading up towards the Eucla Pass. It's the first decent rise since we've left Norseman.
This is the Eucla Pass. Pull up here and fuel up again.
I really love coming across these signposts. Just helps you put everything in perspective. I was quite surprised to see the water. Didn't think we were quite that close to the coast at Eucla. Border town, and that's the border kangaroo standing there like a sentry guard. A lot of people have the misconception that the Nullarbor is just a boring drive and there's nothing to see. But in reality, if you're willing to take the time and get off the main road a little bit, there's plenty to see here. We drove in here just to check out the views from the cliffs, but it was so good we ended up staying the night. Gave us a good opportunity to get the drone out and take some photos. For our next destination, we turned away from the coast, travelled up to the old Nullarbor Road, or the old air highway, to the Canalda Homestead. It used to be like a service station and a homestead that was based on the old road. Would have been a hard way to try and make a living farming out here. Well, this place was very popular in the mid-1900s as a fuel and rest stop, one of the very few on the old air highway. A lot of these buildings are made out of railway sleepers, and apparently they're from the Indian Pacific Railway. There's very few signs to get you out to this place, and it's all run by national parks, but it's well and truly worth a look. Apparently there was people still living here out into the mid-1980s. Geez, it would have been tough. I'm guessing this would be the old MeatSafe, with fly wire and all that on it. Out the back is a huge collection of old vehicles that probably just didn't make it. Back then, it would have been a hard slog across the Nullarbor. Within about 500 metres of the old homestead is this blowhole. It's pretty amazing how this all happens. Now, we're about 30 odd k's from the coast, but the air that comes up through here is just beautiful and cool. There's not a lot of air coming out of it today, but there's not much of a breeze today either. It's really cold, isn't it?
It's lovely.
Well, this place would have been quite a big turnout back in the day. Shearing sheds, sheep yards, it's all here. We were heading a fair way down the property to check out the large sinkhole and the caves. But driving down there we saw all these mounds and we couldn't figure out what they were. It turns out this place has got heaps of wombats. These are wombat burrows everywhere. It makes you wonder what would cause this to happen. Caves that lead off from this sinkhole have all been closed off with big steel gates to stop anybody from going in. I'd imagine it'll be quite unstable under there. Heading along the Nullarbor, it makes you realise how tough it would have been, like in the early days, to cross the Nullarbor. No air conditioning, no fancy gadgets, and you know, when you pull into a servo like this one or a Roadhouse and you get to see the old Roadhouse, it really makes you appreciate what we have today. least I suppose I had cold beer. We were nearing the end of our journey across the Nullarbor. We had one major stop to go again, and that was to Fowlers Bay. We had to cross along all the salt flats to get into the little town, but yeah, nice little place. There isn't a real lot of industry in this area, but there is a whale watching boat that operates here in the right times. But this jetty, it was magnificent, and we did catch some massive squid off of there. The main reason we were here though was to meet up with our friends Darren and Kath. They were travelling west and we were travelling east. After a bit of a catch up and quite a few beers, we decided we'd try sandboarding. It maybe wasn't the best choice, but we had a lot of fun. Now these sandhills, they're a lot bigger and a lot steeper than they look. We were just about knocked up by the time we got to the top.
Oh, I'm scared about him standing up on it.
The girls didn't want to miss out on their turn either.
Lift your feet up.
Well, with the wind picking up and the weather turning nasty for the next few days, we thought we'd try something a little bit different. Just go a bit of four-wheel driving and check out some of the tracks and some of the old buildings and that in the area. Well-marked sort of historical homestead sites in the area. These were really interesting to check these out. It would have been a hard time living and working out here. Building in there. Look at that in there. Look. It's great to get the opportunity to check out how people used to live back in the day. With the wind easing off and the weather coming good, was time to get the boat in the water and try a bit of fishing. We'd only just pulled up at a spot to try and were greeted by a young seal pup.
Wow.
What?
He went right under us and he sort of slowed down right under us. I don't know where he went now. Ah!
Right here.
Hello. Hello.
Is he still there?
Didn't you see that?
No, what?
He came right up, nearly touched his nose on it.
He was definitely very friendly and very curious. Leaving Fowlers Bay, heading towards Sejuna, we had to stop in at Padang.
Padang Windmill Museum. And this one's the swing pump.
This huge Comet windmill is the only one that I've ever seen other than the one at the Toowoomba Showgrounds. With our plans of being on the road for at least another 12 months, once we got into
New
Sejuna,
tyres.
we were well and truly due for some new tyres, and these blokes really looked after us well. Our next stop, not too far from Sejuna, was Smoky Bay. This is one of our favourite places in South Australia, and we always say South Australia is so underrated. It's got such a beautiful countryside, the best water, it's got great fish, and it's just got so much going for it. Well, we found a nice little spot to try a bit of fishing. Well, we must have picked well, because the dolphins thought it was a good spot to go fishing as well. With this many dolphins around, the fishing wasn't great, so it was time to move. Looking for our next spot, we found another local. Well, we watched him for a while, but we knew there was no point even thinking about trying to fish here, because these fellas scare all the fish off, and sometimes they'll even steal them off your line if you are lucky enough to catch one. It was about this point in the trip we got the phone call that our house was going to be empty. Our tenants after 3 years were moving out, so we had to make the decision, do we rent it out again or do we just head for home? It was a bit of a hard call, but we decided we'll head for home, pick up some more work and then maybe do a bit more tripping again.